Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to PWR Feedback Friday. Damian Nelson sitting alongside David Hero, and it's time to get to your comments on our broadcasts from the last 7 days, and this one ought to be a doozy, David Hero.
It should be interesting. I hope that people are commenting with an open mind and an open heart.
Well, that's, we'll see what happened. But let's first go to Twitter, at PWR Show on Twitter, and we ask you to, when talking about our broadcast, use the hashtag PWRTV, and many of you did, including a user by the name of @ALegend627, who said, you guys should be on WWE and Impact Wrestling payroll. If it wasn't for you guys, I would lose interest in wrestling.
Well, who's to say that we aren't?
Well, I'm certainly not. That would be a conflict of interest.
You didn't get that bonus payola check?
I did not get my TNA bonus check, no.
Well, no one does. But forget it.
Thank you for that comment at AgeLegend627. Next comes from @Johan Jin, who says, Zack Ryder was getting buried and screwed over before it was cool. Woo, woo, woo. You know it. Of course, that in relation to the belief that Daniel Bryan is being screwed over.
He is the sacrificial lamb. I mean, they dusted him off, and he had brown hair and no headband.
But he made it on 2 shows this week. Took on Del Rio on main event and took on Titus O'Neil on Raw this past Monday night.
But you know what? He's a good hand. He's getting people over. He's a good baby face to have, and he'll get a little crowd reaction. But yeah, I mean, he's been. Wow. You know what's funny? We said he wasn't ready a couple years ago, and he's still not ready. Oh, so
don't throw we into that.
Well, was I wrong?
I don't know if we had the proper opportunity to ascertain whether or not you were accurate or inaccurate.
He hasn't done anything. Ever since Eve cheated on him with John Cena and got beat up by Kane in the wheelchair, yeah.
Next comment comes from @Justin C. Dolan, who says, every time Dean Ambrose is announced as United States champion, I cringe. When did he defend it last? Might as well be the TNA Legends /TV title.
He could be the hardcore champion.
That was defended 24/7.
The European champion. Right? Hell, why not even the NWA 6-man tag team champions?
Yes. Or the 6-man United States, or the United States tag team champions.
The North American champions.
Yes. Back when title belts mattered. Thank
everyone
you,
had one.
Justin Dolan, for that. Finally, coming from @DinoNation Blog, says, I have to say I'm getting tired of certain narratives on the show as it relates to Bryan and Punk. I disagree with them.
Narratives?
I think he's probably talking about you.
We don't have any. We don't have anybody talking over us, do we? Who's that guy that does all the narratives for all the commercials?
Patrick Cullen?
No, he was in Shawshank Redemption.
I don't know.
The black guy in Shawshank Redemption.
There was only one?
Well, there's a bunch of criminals, but there was one star. Well, we're talking about the
Careful,
jail.
you don't have a gun, do you? No. If I don't want to sound too thuggish here and get shot.
We're talking about the jail scene. There was a lot of black guys in the jail. There was the one white guy, and then the older black guy.
You're about 8 foot deep right now in that hole you're digging. So let's move on to some comments from our YouTube channel, ladies and gentlemen. Some comments that you all placed on our episodes last week, including Feedback Friday Primetime and our very special Wednesday Feedback Live, David Hero, where we, as a result of these comments, invited all of you to join us on that broadcast, to call us, speak to us live, and to tell us why you disagree or agree with the things that we've said on our recent broadcast. And thank you to all of you who did participate and call in on that broadcast. However, we didn't get some of the vicious feedback that we got in words from a keyboard on a live voice from the phone.
Well, you know why? Because you can't misspell stuff on a live voice. Wait, what was that?
First comment comes from Greg O'Grady on YouTube, who says, Hero's opinions get more annoying each and every week. The show is starting to be unwatchable. He is more of a fetish for big wrestlers than Vince McMahon.
My fetish is not for men, first of all. Okay? Curvy brunettes. Let's get that straight right now.
That's a shoot, folks.
Okay? Unwatchable, then just turn the TV off and listen if you don't want to watch me. But you know what? Okay, so my opinions are annoying. Oh, you know what?
They are your opinions.
I am the voice of the voiceless. The people that can't give their opinions.
Don't start, David.
Oh, I am. I am the voice of the voiceless. Yes, absolutely.
Next comes from Zuri Frazier, who says, CM Punk is a brat. Like his in-ring and mic work. I like his in-ring and mic work, but let's be real. he isn't going to affect ratings. Daniel Bryan is just as over weekly as Punk when they come to Chicago.
Well, Daniel Bryan has replaced CM Punk. He has.
Well, we're going to talk about that tomorrow night on Primetime. Who will replace CM Punk, and maybe who has already replaced CM Punk? That in tomorrow night's big story on Primetime. Next comment comes from Jay Mack on YouTube, who says, I'm looking forward to WrestleMania with or without Punk. I have no problem with him walking away. WrestleMania is much like the Super Bowl. Fans watch it because it's the biggest event the industry has to offer, even if our favorite team or wrestler is or is not involved in the event.
You know what? J-Mac gets it. That's exactly it. People order WrestleMania because it's an event. They can have their parties, and they can bring their taco dips and their spinach pies, whatever else they want to bring, and have a family fest.
The comments continue regarding Batista's win in the Royal Rumble and Daniel Bryan's exclusion from the Royal Rumble. And one user by the name of Murderous quoted you, David Hero, and said, it didn't matter who won the Rumble because whoever it was, if it wasn't Daniel Bryan, the fans weren't going to be pleased. He then follows that up with a statement that says, this statement right there should tell you everything you need to know.
Sounds like Baron von Raschke.
But and that's all the people need to know.
When was the last time the fans were so up in arms about somebody winning the Royal Rumble that didn't win the Royal Rumble?
I don't think they ever have been.
Never, ever.
Not even when Bret Hart and Lex Luger won it.
You're right. Or when Yokozuna won it.
Yokozuna won the Rumble?
Of course he did.
What year was that?
I don't remember.
Did he?
Well, we'll find out shortly. I mean, someone's going to nitpick, if we got something wrong here.
Was it 91?
Might have been. No, I don't know. No, not 91.
I don't think he ever won it.
Well, he was in it.
Next comes from a user by the name of Ivan Drago, who says, who says, I'm a Punk fan, but am sick to death of this guy's bitching and moaning. He was champ for 434 days, had top-selling DVD in WWE history, was on the cover of, at the time, the top-selling wrestling video game, has made millions, wrestled in front of millions, had angles with Cena, Triple H, Bryan, Rock, Y2J, Brock, and Taker at Mania. Damn, poor guy, WWE has just held him down and treated him so bad. I feel as a fan every time Punk is in a feud
I hope you've proofread this. I'm already a sentence ahead of you.
And wonder if Punk is happy with this, then WWE properly kissing his ass. I agree with Hero. He seems like an unhappy person. Stone Cold and Rock are megastars that can sit next to whoever, whenever. And yes, of course, I did proofread it.
That sounds like my DWHS from last week. I mean, I don't feel bad for Punk. He chose to leave on his own terms. He walked out.
Alex Correa says CM Punk did not turn his back on the fans, as we said he did last week. It's the machine that forced his hand. How can you blame the guy?
Because he had a contract.
Is that like a commitment?
It's a commitment.
Is that like a marriage almost?
Well, that's a promise. Those are meant to be broken.
User on YouTube is named Animals07. I think this episode was great. Thank you for that. I have to say, we don't know the issues CM Punk has with WWE, but I think creative needs an audible. I've been flabbergasted by how much WWE creative misses easy home runs with Daniel Bryan, CM Punk, the Real Americans, John Cena, and their lack of logic. I think the fans want a more sophisticated product, and hopefully CM Punk can open more eyes. Not saying how Punk did it was right, but let's see what comes from this.
I don't know how they've missed easy home runs because they've put all those guys in programs with each other, and none of them worked. With the exception of Punk and Cena, in Chicago, Money in the Bank, there wasn't a whole lot of,
Punk versus Taker was fantastic in the build-up leading up to that matchup as well.
But there was emotion in that.
Punk versus Rock was decent.
But hold on, Punk and Taker, if Paul Bearer doesn't die, bless his heart, there's no heat in that match. How do you get there?
User by the name of Dratno V.
Hold on a second. This may sound a little awkward. Punk has benefited from deaths in wrestling.
How so?
Well, Chris Benoit, which I mentioned before, and then Paul Bearer, because he was able to get the heat.
It's over
from
10
the
years,
death.
2 people.
Well, it's longer than 10 years.
It's been in WWE for 10 years.
But I'm just saying. I mean, if and I love Paul Bearer, a great individual, but that helped facilitate the CM Punk Paul Bearer match.
It did.
It really did.
Dratno V says, David doesn't seem to realize that wrestling injury. You always get all the heat in these comments. No one's ever. See, I am right. I'm Switzerland. I am right down the middle. I am calling it as I see it.
You're usually hiding under a table as I, take all the shrapnel for you.
David doesn't seem to realize that wrestling in general is not that popular anymore. If they actually knew how to book guys and storylines planned out to be longer than a month, these guys would have a chance to get over. And even when they do, like Daniel Bryan and Dolph Ziggler, when these guys got over and were champs, they stripped them of the titles and had them buried on TV for weeks. This is WWE's fault. They booked themselves into a corner.
The reason is because they book stuff month to month because of pay-per-views. That's why. Raw and SmackDown is a filler. They build towards pay-per-views.
Yes. Back in the day, though, they did have, and they may still, we just don't know it, have a 6-month or so plan.
Well, they usually do have. For
the top guys.
I know TNA plans out 6 to 8 months.
Yeah.
WWE, they have to on the fly.
A little unfair, though.
Because, God forbid, somebody quits.
A little unfair, though, for Dratno to say that Dolph Ziggler was over and was champion and then got stripped of the title and then buried on TV for weeks. Remember, Dolph Ziggler got concussed.
By who?
Jack Swagger.
Which, going back to Animals 07... Yep, he was in that list too of guys, wasn't he?
Let's not forget his. This was 2 years ago, of course, but his
that was last year, right before WrestleMania.
It was, yes.
Yeah. So sometimes you're your own worst enemy.
Speaking of which, you took to YouTube as well and provided a comment to the people out there.
Yes, I did.
I'd like to give you the opportunity to verbalize that comment here on this podcast.
All I said is I have no problem with negative reactions to my comments. Actually, I enjoy your maturity. Of some of you that need to use expletives and name calling. The fact is, at the end of the day, I do know more than you do, and that's a DWHS.
Well, folks, with that, that is Feedback Friday. The only way, and the many ways, rather, you can be a part of this broadcast, hop to our Facebook page, facebook.com/PWR Show, or on Twitter, twitter.com/PWR Show.
Morgan Freeman. He doesn't narrative anything for us.
And also by your comments here on our YouTube channel as well. For that one,
you're going to clean that up, right?
I'm not cleaning anything up because that's all you. The mud is all over you in this one.
Once again, now it's mud.
For that one, this is Damian Nelson. We'll see you tomorrow night on Primetime, where our big story will be who replaces CM Punk.
Morgan
and then we're going to go in depth on the stars that you, the fans, have actually created. That tomorrow night on Primetime. We'll see you then.